Okay, so this is my mom's recipe for tsoureki. Okay, we need flour, milk, butter. I'm doubling the recipe, so I'm going to be using the whole butter, but normally it's half. 12 eggs. Again, I'm doubling the recipe, so it's usually 6 eggs. Water, Mahlepi, which you can get at a Greek bakery or Greek store, and yeast and sugar. I'm going to kind of do a step-by-step, and I'm going to show you what's the next step, okay? Okay, so here's my water. It's 2 cups warm water with yeast. Again, I'm not sure, it's about 3 tablespoons of yeast from the Greek bakery, okay? Now, you know, keep in mind this is a recipe from my mother, and she doesn't normally take measurements, so I kind of had to adapt it because I need measurements when I'm baking. But, you know, let's hope for the best. I have no idea what this is going to come out to. So, we're supposed to mix the yeast with the water. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Never done this before, so we'll see how that... Okay. And the yeast. Alright. Okay. And I'm gonna mix it and see what happens. Okay, so this was my yeast and my water. And now my mother does this by eye, so she said it has to have a cake-like consistency. So I added 2 cups flour, but again, she doesn't measure her flour, so I start off with 2 cups. I'm going to try to measure so that way I have a more accurate recipe. So I'm going to mix this a little bit, and then we have to let it rise. Okay, so this is my yeast and my water with, I added 2 cups flour to make it like a thick cake batter. And now we have to let it rise. So I'm going to cover it with a clean towel and put it in a warm place. Well, my house is warm enough. It's summer-like weather, so I'm going to put it to the side and just check up on it later. Okay. Okay, so my yeast is rising. It has to stay there for about 30 minutes. So in the meantime, I'm going to mix the rest of my ingredients. Here I have sugar with the eggs, my butter, which is melted, and my milk, which is warmed up. Okay, so I'm going to incorporate everything into the bowl using my mixer, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I've mixed my my sugar with my eggs and the butter, melted butter, and the heated up, the warmed milk. Now it's mixed well. Next step is to add my yeast. So I'm going to see how it's doing here. Okay, looks alright, I guess. We're going to add the yeast to this mixture here, and I'll show you how that looks in a second. Okay, so here's my yeast. It's risen, wow. And I'm going to incorporate it into my eggs, flour, butter, milk, and I'm also going to add the mahlepi. Okay, so let's do that right now. Okay, so here's everything. I just added the yeast, and I'm going to mix everything. Added the mahlepi, and all there is to add now is the flour. Now, my mother did not give me any measurements, you know. She just said add flour till you see that the dough is ready to be kneaded, which doesn't help someone who doesn't normally cook and bake. So I'm going to count them while I'm putting them in here, just so that I can have a record of it. So I'm going to start incorporating the flour right now, probably 2 cups at a time, because I think it's going to take a lot of flour. Okay, so I've added a lot of flour, and I'm now trying to incorporate it with my hand, trying to get the right consistency. So that I can knead it and then let it rise. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so here's the dough. I added all the flour. It took a lot of flour, and I kneaded it, well, to the best of my ability. And my mother had specifically said do not over flour, so it's sort of kind of sticky. I used a little bit of vegetable oil to get it off my fingers so it doesn't really stick, but it's still sort of sticky. But I'm hoping it's fine. So we're gonna let this rise somewhere warm, cover it with a maybe saran wrap and then a towel and then a blanket, and let it rise for, let me just take a look how long. Okay, it's for about an hour and a half. We're gonna have to let it rise, and we'll know when it's ready when we poke a finger in it and it springs back up. So I'll see you in an hour and a half. Okay, so while my dough is rising, it's been an hour and a half, almost an hour and a half. What I did is I lined my baking sheets with parchment paper, just to make my life simpler. And my dough is super risen. So now I'm going to check it. Let's just see here. What I did is I turned on the oven and at a low temperature, and I put my dough up here so that it can be warm. And while I was doing all that, I decided to bake some eggs for coloring after. Okay, so what do I have to do here? I'm just reading the directions. It says put the finger in the dough and see if it springs back up. Let's try that. Not really springing back up, is it? I don't know what that means. I guess it's ready. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a bit out and knead it into a, not knead it, make it into a braid and put it on my baking sheet and have it rise again. Okay, so I'm going to try and braid. I can tell you for sure it doesn't look as good as my mother's. But I'm going to try this anyway. Sort of. Okay, that's it. And then you put it on your cookie sheet. And these again have to rise for another 30 minutes. So same concept, you cover them, keep them warm, and rise, let them rise for about 30 minutes, and then we get to bake them. Okay, so here they are, they've risen, and I have some more here warming up. And right now I scrambled one egg, and we're going to lightly coat them right before we put them in the oven. So at this point you should have preheated your oven to 350 degrees so that once they're coated lightly with the egg, you can put them in the oven. Now traditionally we put a red egg on the tsoureki, but as I haven't dyed my eggs yet, I don't have any, so we're going to skip the dyed egg part. So I'm going to put them in the oven now, and I will show you once they're done what they look like. Let's hope that they actually come out. Okay, so I just pulled them out. They really grew and rose some more, I guess, as they were cooking. So they're pretty much done. I'm going to show you. They're still hot. Oh, that's too hot. I won't be able to. They're done. I mean, look underneath. Perfect. So I hope they taste good. When they've cooled down, I'm going to show you what they look like on the inside. Not bad for a first attempt. Okay, let's take a look at the second batch cooking. They're kind of humongous. really, really big. But they look good. So that one's already done. One more batch to go. Okay, so here it is. They're all done. Remember, I made so many because I had doubled the recipe. But I'm going to taste them now. So I'm just going to rip this one apart. Only because it was the first batch I made and sort of broken. Okay, so it looks good. I'm going to taste it. Pretty good. Not bad for the first time. Give it a try.